Guild Wars, Sea of Sorrows. Chapter 36. The ocean current spun Kobaya around and around, dragging him after the sinking Indomitable. He fought against it, but his wounds were grave and his body weary. He could barely even kick his feet through the water, struggling to stay alive despite all the odds. The maw's tail slid past, but the creature was too eager, the sea too full of lashing bodies and sinking wreckage, and it missed Kobaya by several feet. Just as he was beginning to give up, fearing the light above him was no longer the surface of the waves, Kobaya felt something snag on his body, dragging him out of the sea. It was too hard to be an arm, wooden, tipped with metal. A boat hook, then. One of Isae's sailors? But as he broke the surface of the chopping waves, Kobaya realized the Nomad too was too far away to be his savior. Ready? Heave? The boat hook dragged Kobaya back against the side of a massive galleon, the wood cracking against his shoulder painfully as he was pulled up her hull toward the top side of the ship. He spat water, kicking off his soaked boots to lighten the load, and clawed his way through the rail onto the deck boards. Once safely there, Kobaya untangled himself from the boat hook and stared up into a white-faced group of Creodan sailors. He was aboard the Balthazar's Trident. Is he alive? Prince Adair put his hand on Kobaya's shoulder. Commodore, are you injured? Yes. Kobaya blinked salt water out of his eyes, shivering from the cold of the sea. If you're going to make me a prisoner, I'd rather you just kill me now. I'd rather die on deck than drown in the bilge like some kind of stowaway skrit. His stomach churned with seawater and disappointment. Adair's brown eyes softened. I'm not sending you to the brig, Commodore, though I do intend to have strong words with the individuals who took it upon themselves to countermand my orders in that regard. Adair flashed an indignant glance at Livia. Nevertheless, I watched what you did on that great black galleon leaping across to face the undead captain one-on-one. I've never seen anything like it. The Prince of Creata grasped Kobaya's hand and pulled him to his feet, supporting Kobaya with his shoulder when the older man's knees failed to gain balance right away. Your actions saved my ship from destruction. I may have misjudged you. May have. The prince shook his head. We've no time for argument, Commodore. You're needed. Adair pointed across the ocean, indicating the battle taking place around them. One of the seraph came forward, and Adair took the man's proffered cloak, placing it on Kobaya's shoulders and wrapping it around his shivering body. That black-sailed devil of a ship is gone, but my armada's not doing well. We were unprepared for this assault. Though they have fought bravely, you and the Nomad have taken on the lion's share of this fight. With the reinforcements from your city, however odd, we may yet have a chance against these dead ships. But I hold no such hope for victory against them. Adair's finger pointed toward the Exabex with scarlet sails. The Trident is uninjured and ready to fight. But The prince's voice failed him, and his jaw stiffened with pride. He moved out from under Kobaya's shoulder, allowing the Commodore to stand on his own among the Seraph Marines. I saw you command the Nomad, Adair added. I'm asking you to do the same with the Trident, although the fight is going well. It doesn't matter how well it's going. Those Orions won't leave until you've destroyed them utterly, or they've replenished what they've lost and won the day. Every loss for you increases their numbers. Don't you understand that? Kobaya said wryly, pulling the cloak about him. Matcha used to call it a zero-sum equation. There's no such thing as just driving them off. Unless you're winning, you're losing. They'll ram your ships, use their cannons, and leave your men to die at sea, and every sailor drowned in the tide. Every vessel that sinks in their attack, they'll rise to fight against you. He narrowed his eyes and took a strip of cloth from one of the shining blade, wrapping it about his torso to staunch the seeping wounds. His hand had swollen, the flesh torn and ravaged, but everything still worked for now. Limping to the Balthazar's trident's railing, Kobaya leaned on the smooth wood and looked out at the firefight on the waves. You can't fight ore like you fight char. The patchwork ships from Lion's Arch were fighting like nimble piranhas, packing light punches, but evading most of the attacks being levied against them. They didn't have much protection, and their hulls, too long out of the water, couldn't absorb a powerful blow. Already several were down, their hulls compromised by a single hit from the cannons on the black-sailed galleons. The Creadan vessels, on the other hand, were ready for a fight, and although they were taking a pounding from the Orions, most of them managed to remain afloat, despite a great deal of abuse. However, they were wasting their blows pounding on the already ruined hulls of the dead ships, a tactic that would work on living ships, but did very little to this enemy. This is what you wanted. Lion's Arch at your fingertips, our fleet at the bottom of the sea. You said the dead ships were no danger. You said we were lying. He glanced back over his shoulder with a hostile snort. You have everything you asked for. Adair bristled, a satirical reply on his lips. Before he could speak, Livia's hand fell upon the prince's sleeve. He paused and took a long, deep breath, closing his eyes as he regained control of his temper. Kobaya turned and looked out at the waves once more, listening to the pound and flash of cannon fire, the booming of gunnery emplacements on the cliffsides, the high arching loft of flaming balls of pitch heaved from Claw Island's shore. You were right, Adair ground out between clenched teeth. In a low, angry tone, Kobaya agreed. Damn straight. I was. The anger slowly left Adair's eyes, but his shoulders were back and his stance was still that of a soldier. Tell me how to save my ships. And if I do? It took Adair a moment to answer. I'll leave your city. Take my ships and my army and renege on the siege. Livia's hand tightened reassuringly on the prince's arm. Lifting his head, Adair said, We'll negotiate a truce. Limited autonomy under Creadan rule, with you as the city's governor. Full independence, Kobaya retorted sharply. Are you mad? Adair blurted in shock. Several of the seraph around them reached for their weapons, anticipating an angry command. The Creadan prince shook free of his exemplar's restraint, stomping closer to Kobaya until their faces were mere inches apart. Lion's Arch will never survive. The races weren't meant to live together. You'll tear yourself apart. If we do, that's my problem. Not yours. Kobaya met the young prince's fervent gaze with the cold wisdom of years as a ship commander. As shouts and cannon fire echoed off the water, and the maw rose again to swallow one of the smaller pinnaces whole, the two men stood locked in a fierce battle of wills. As smoke wafted past over the Balthazar's trident's deck, Adair made his decision. Fine. I'll recognize the city's sovereignty so long as the Captain's Council remains in charge. Kobaya put out his uninjured hand. Done. Unused to such gestures, Adair shook it awkwardly. Now that they were in agreement, Kobaya turned his mind to the battle. Your ships need to work with ours. Let our faster vessels lure the dead ships to the Creadan line, and then use your heavier guns to blow apart their masts, shatter their rudders, and target their guns. Don't waste ammunition on their hulls. Pulling the warm cloak more firmly about his shivering body, Kobaya warned him, It takes a hell of a lot more damage than your ships can do in a few passes to get through the layers of bone and gristle hidden beneath their rotting hulls. The prince blanched at Kobaya's description, but nodded. If the Orions can't chase you and they can't shoot at you, then you'll have plenty of time to break them apart. Adair summoned one of the sailors forward. Have our mesmer pass those commands to the other ships. Send the same message to the Pride and tell them the orders come from Commodore Mariner. The crewmen saluted briefly and raced to do the prince's bidding. That's a start. But we've got another problem. Those red-sailed ships. The Exebecs. The ones with the fire shields and magical artillery. Kobaya frowned. They're more self-willed than the others. I don't know, maybe they're smarter. Or maybe they're better able to interpret the dragon's commands. Those ships won't fall for our tactics, and cannons alone won't take them out. The only way to destroy them is with magic. Adair understood at once. We'll have to take the trident in,